Hey loves, it's your girl Mariah Sincere, and I'm back with another bomb live. For those of y'all who are new to my channel, I am a self-love coach who specializes in helping people radically transform their lives. I've been able to do the same thing. At the beginning of last year, I was completely unhappy with the direction my life was going in, my job, where I was living, and I decided that I wanted to move abroad. And within 6 months, I did. If you are going through a rough time right now, if you're dealing with a toxic situation, a dead end job, and you need somebody to help you navigate those waters, I've been there, done it all. You can go to my past lives where I've talked about my lives, but I've come out on the other side. So if you need help with that, email me at thepassportsis@gmail.com and we can get you on the right track. With that said, guys, look at me being on time to the live. Like, I was ready to go. I was not playing today. So I'm actually here before everybody. I'm going to give y'all some time to get on in here. Guys, if you like my video, please share it. And I have an announcement to make as we get further on into the live, but we're going to get into a couple topics today. Today we're going to talk about what's going on between the United States and Ukraine. Elon Musk's dark revelation about what he thinks might happen to him. We're going to get into Jay-Z and Beyonce possibly suing Rihanna, and Omarion talking about how he doesn't believe in monogamy. So we're going to get into all of that. I'm just waiting on a couple of people to get in here. If you're coming in, hit the like button. Make sure that you're commenting in the chat. The more that you engage, the more popping the live will be. Y'all know I feed off of y'all's energy. So again, hit that like button, come through, hit the notification bell. Right now I am drinking on, this is that watermelon Red Bull. I know I probably shouldn't be drinking Red Bulls, but I have to go to the gym today when I get off this live with y'all. Hey, we trying to keep it cute, we trying to keep it hot, we trying to keep it sexy, okay? Um, so y'all hit that like button on y'all way in. I'm a little bit sleepy today. I did not sleep well. And I'm just waiting on some people to get in here so I can start discussing my topics. By the time it hits the 5-minute mark, I'm just gonna be on go. Um, I'm bringing back the lunch hour. I'm bringing back the lunch hour. For those of y'all who uh were coming and showing up consistently during the lunch hour, I appreciate you. The reason why I got off track was because I found myself wanting to go out. Like, I'm in a new city and a new country, and I found myself wanting to go out and explore during the day and not be inside until 2 or 3 o'clock during doing the lunch hour. But and it takes a while. When you're doing YouTube, you have to make the thumbnails. You have to research your topics. You have to get your setup going. So it's something that takes a while, but and I feel like I don't like being inside too early on in the day. With that said, I noticed that I was more consistent and my channel was growing when I was doing the lunch hour. And I was given some advice by a fellow YouTuber that who actually watches me, that is the best time for me to come on. Give me 1 second, y'all. Okay, guys, again, remember, as y'all are coming in, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It helps people know that I'm on live. Okay, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started. So it has been rumored that Jay-Z and Rihanna are possibly going to be involved in some type of legal battle. Now, y'all know Jay-Z was battling it out in court with Tony Busby. over a girl who said that at the age of 13, Jay-Z and P. Diddy basically raped her. So that lawsuit did get dropped. With that said, y'all know I be watching your girl Sloan Bella. I be watching Sloan Bella. And I feel like so Sloan Bella said before any of this court stuff got settled that Jay-Z's takedown was not going to be this year, that this was going to happen over a 3-year period. Now, with that said, I don't believe that Jay-Z is 100% innocent, right? I'm not sure about this particular case. And I think that Jay-Z doesn't move as reckless as P. Diddy. P. Diddy's a wild boy. Even just the hints that he would give about the activities that he was dealing into the press, eventually, like he had to know eventually this was going to come back to bite him, or maybe he didn't, because I guess during that time that he was really into that lifestyle. Hey, what's up, Olivia? What up, sis? It's good to see you. I don't know if you heard, but I'm bringing the lunch hour back starting tomorrow, and I will be consistent with it. I'm gonna bring it back. But with that said, um I've always heard rumblings of Jay-Z being really, I don't know if I can say it, cutthroat and a really astute businessman, right? We know at the very least Jay-Z started messing with Beyonce when she was young, and it's always been rumored that Jay-Z had some type of relationship with Rihanna when she was 16. Now, at first I didn't believe it, but as the years have went by, I've noticed a couple different things. Thank you, sis. I've noticed a couple different things that make me side eye. For example, the fact that Rihanna has worked with Nicki Minaj, Beyonce has worked with Nicki Minaj. Basically, and Beyonce has worked with Shakira. She's worked with other superstars. But for whatever reason, we've never really seen a Beyonce and Rihanna collab. You know what I'm saying? They've never had their Mariah Carey and Whitney Houston moment, which to me, because these are the two most iconic superstars of our time, that just never made sense to me. It never made sense. It never made sense that we didn't see them really just publicly. Like, if it kind of got brought up, I felt like there were times where they might have given some praise just to not look like they were being shady. But overall, we've never seen a sense of camaraderie between Rihanna and Beyonce. And part of that could have been because they were pit against each other for so long. But my thinking is this: if you're two women who are getting pit against each other for a long period of time and there's really no beef, I would be trying to do something to squash those rumors, which leads me to believe that there was something going on between Rihanna and Jay-Z. And Jay-Z's always kind of done weird stuff. Like, y'all remember when Jay-Z bought Skylar Diggins, that really pretty NBA star, when he bought her a Mercedes Benz when she got signed? Do y'all remember? We can talk about the whole thing where Solange ran up on Jay-Z in the elevator. Do y'all think that was for nothing? I'm sorry, a sister is only going to be beating on your husband like that if he is A, cheating on you, or he is laying his hands on you, right? Those are the only two reasons I can think of. Now, just because he's a cheater doesn't mean he was necessarily messing with underage girls. But again, the Rihanna thing makes me side eye. So I don't know. That situation has always seemed weird. But apparently, there are rumors that Jay-Z is filing a lawsuit against Rihanna. So I'm going to go on Tisa Tell's channel. We're going to see what she has to say, and then I'll give my opinion on it. Give me 1 second as I prevent it. Again, y'all hit that like button as you're coming in. And if you're not subscribed already, please hit the subscribe button. Y'all know I'm trying to grow. Give me 1 second.
You can create unlimited AI images with accurate text, hands and fingers for a one-time cost. No recurring.
Y'all, what is going on? The streets are saying that Brianna is being sued by Beyonce and Jay-Z is suing A$AP Rocky. Y'all, come and sit down because we got to talk. Remember when we said that there is a huge misinformation campaign at play? Remember when we said that Diddy is throwing everything at the wall to muddy the waters, to poison the waters so that we don't know what's true anymore? Their whole media play, and we've been saying this for a while, is to get all these crazy things thrown at them so they can stand in a court of law and be like, Your Honor, how could this be true? This wasn't true, and this wasn't true. So how can you believe this is true?
Actually, that's a really smart tactic. If you can flood the media with a whole bunch of rumors and drama that doesn't pan out, it makes the stuff that's true seem questionable. That's actually brilliant. I'm impressed by this.
You guys, this has reached fever level. And at this point, they think we're stupid and we're playing in our face. And I'm going to start calling it out because I'm sick of it. And the one thing I can't take is being toyed with. Baby, you can talk about, you can trash, but stop toying with us and talking to us like we're stupid. Now, you guys, listen. Let me put you on the post that sweeping social media. Beyonce Knowles Carter is suing Robin Fenty, her name. It is on Justica.com, okay? It appears to be a legit at first glance. It's always supposed to be legit. At first glance, it appears to be legit. Until you see that it is a labor dispute and they're suing for $100,000. That was the first thing where I'm like, okay, you're playing.
Yeah, that makes absolutely no sense. If you've got these multi-millionaire, billionaires going at each other, they're not coming at each other over $100,000. They wipe their ass with $100,000. Matter of fact, that ain't even nothing to wipe their ass with. You feel me? Like, no, that don't sound right.
Because they wouldn't bring this to court for $100,000. Second of all, Rihanna has never worked with Beyonce in that capacity. And for a labor dispute, that means that somebody was an employee. They have never co-collaborated. They've never done this. But I said, okay, it was filed in a U.S. Virgin Island court system online. Again, it was filed on Saturday, but the court system allows you to file 24/7. Doesn't matter if it's Saturday. I said,
y'all, something is going on with the U.S. Virgin Islands. And I'm saying that as somebody who, y'all know I love St. Thomas. I love the Virgin Islands. Like, that's one place I will forever go back and visit at least once every few years because I genuinely love that energy that's on that island. But, like, I hear the Virgin Islands getting brought up in too many things, especially their administration. Y'all know they had connections with that Epstein trial. I'm just saying, I be hearing their name in too much stuff. And for them to be a tiny island in the middle of the Caribbean, it's not making sense.
Okay. Then it showed that Jay-Z, Sean Carter, is suing A$AP Rocky. Except for they literally put A$AP Rocky on the filing. They didn't even put his real name, Raheem, suing for $100,000. This is coming up directly on the Diddy docket. This is showing up on all the pro-Diddy sites. This is nothing but a thinly veiled, deliberative PR campaign to muddy the waters. I'm sick of this. Busby, we'll get into a live about our opinion on Busby and what's going on with the fact that he's going to have to withdraw from most of those cases. But there's stuff going on with Busby. There's something going on everywhere. But now they are deliberately muddying the waters because if they can get the public to start believing that everything and everybody that comes out with something against Diddy is just spite the fancy, then when that jury sits down, they'll say, can you really believe this? Again, it is a very, very skilled,
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Gosh, they just playing that music louder and louder. I hope it's not overtaking the live. Here's the thing with that situation, guys. It's to the point where if you don't have people coming with concrete evidence of these offenses, and they're gonna need to come with it. if you can muddy the waters like this, and if you can make it seem like there are all of this is just gossip, then yes, you are going to taint the jury, because the jury hears all this stuff. There's no such thing as a jury that's not hearing about all this drama. uh so hey, Cha, it's good to see you, sis. Is it super noisy? Oh my goodness, they just turning that music up loud. This is what living in Colombia is like. And if this is copyrighted music, hey Binky, I can hear you just fine, right? Is that music too loud? Hold on, give me 1 second. It's good to see you, sis. That's the thing about doing my lives when they're playing that music out there. It might trigger like some copyright. Can y'all hear the music super loud? Okay. Anyway, let's continue.
Very, very, very skilled strategy, and one that if we don't keep on our toes is actually working. You guys, first of all, I ran to Pacer to see if it's true, because even though things seem fantastical, you never know. And then we looked on Jessica.com. Jessica.com, which is justice.com, does have real filings, but they also have filings from Porky Pig and Daffy Duck. Apparently, anybody can file a case out of the U.S. Virgin Islands when it is electronic. Anybody can actually file the case. So what's going on with this misinformation? They want us to believe that Tony Busby has voluntarily dismissed all his cases when he voluntarily dismissed against Bad Boy. But we'll talk about Busby later, because that's something that we all need to look at and actually worry about. But we'll talk about that later.
So I think Tony Busby, he talked a good game about he was ready to go toe to toe with them, but I really don't think Tony Busby was ready for the machine that is behind Jay-Z, right? I think if anything, the whole situation with Tony Busby and then was a warning. They let it go far enough to let Jay-Z know you can get taken down too. They always got to keep them in their place. But I don't think at this particular time. Here's the thing. Jay-Z is not gonna fall unless the powers that be and the people that have the real money are ready for him to. When they're ready for him to, then he will fall. And I was talking to you about this the other day, Binky, when I asked you about what do you think about Sloan Bella. And Sloan Bella, she don't really miss. So she said a few months ago that this is not going to be the year of his downfall. Mind you, I'm not necessarily, like, me personally, I'm not waiting on the downfall. I hope he didn't do any of these things, but there has just been too many rumors and whispers of things over the years. And I'm a big believer in where there is smoke, there is fire, you know? And there has been too much that has come out, not just in relation to like Jay-Z and Diddy specifically, but there have been too many people who have like, for example, when Alex Jones went to what is that place? Something Grove. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And he caught them doing all that worshiping of other deities and things like that. So there's too much out there that would lead me to believe that some type of secret society uh exists, and that you have to go through these secret societies to get put on and to accumulate certain amounts of wealth. Do I believe that all people who have money are a part of this? No, but I believe in certain situations that this is actually a real thing. Cha says, this Tony Busby situation reminds me of the Fannie Willis Trump situation. She bit off way more than she could chew. Yeah, she bit off way more than she can chew. And not just that, her hands were dirty in the situation. She was doing too much corrupt behind the scenes stuff. You cannot try to call a president out for corruption and you are just as crooked as what you're saying he is, right? And not just that, I don't think she was legally prepared for that battle. And we could get into the Trump case, right? Because that, to me, in my opinion, those charges were trumped up. But anyway, let's continue.
Later, okay? Because the real thing about what's going on with Tony Busby is the fact that he cannot practice in New York City court, and he is scrambling around trying to get other lawyers to take over these cases without him being involved at all, because he broke the law to be the first to break Diddy stuff. We broke it down in a live, but we'll talk about it in another matter. With this, I want to talk about
Realmente quien inició este proyecto de inversión fue mi papá, que en paz descanse. Yo cuando lo recibí
what's going on.
Commercials.
Okay? Because at the end of the day, I think the Diddy people, and I do think this is coming from Diddy's people, didn't expect for this live to quick take off so suddenly. Okay? First of all, how were people even alerted to a filing electronically online in the US Virgin Islands that had Beyonce and Rihanna? Again, one of the reasons they're doing that is the fact that they want us to believe, oh my God, it could be true. Oh my God. And they want us to rush. Oh.
That's just weird. That's just weird that they would even file that case in the US Virgin Islands. That's just weird. That's weird. And not to mention the fact that it's only $100,000 lawsuit. So they want the rumors out there that Rihanna is being sued by Jay-Z and Beyonce over $100,000. That's not believable. I feel like they should have at the very least tried to make it look more believable. And in any event, like if you know anything about the administration in the US Virgin Islands, they are very corrupt. So I feel like if you file something, like if you're trying to play games, I think it's a little bit riskier to try to file some type of lawsuit like that on the mainland versus, you know, all you got to do is kind of pay the right people in the US Virgin Islands. But I don't believe that the lawsuit is real thus far. We shall see. Another reason why I don't think the lawsuit is real is because Jay-Z is so hot right now, and I don't see himself trying to put himself in the spotlight anymore. I think they kind of would rather that die out, you know, but I don't see him trying to like keep his name in the news with some type of lawsuit against Rihanna, especially considering that people will start digging into that history. Now, he's already been accused of messing with a 13-year-old girl. I'm sure he knows that people have been on TikTok and been on YouTube talking about his inappropriate relationship with Rihanna when she was just 16. I don't think that he wants any more press in regards to that. So I don't know. That's something that we'll keep our eye out on. Let me get to the comments. Guys, if y'all are just now coming in, please hit the like button. That helps people know that I'm on live. Okay. Hey, Nicole, what's up, sis? It's good to see you in the building. What's up, Mr. D? How are you doing? How are y'all doing tonight? I got all my people here. Y'all weren't here earlier, but I told y'all that I'm going back to doing the lunch hour starting tomorrow. Okay. I will post my thumbnail as soon as I get done with it. Okay, so now let's talk about Omarion. Y'all, I'm not even trying to be funny. Maybe this might sound a little bit mean, but I feel like it's always the men who are the least desirable, in my opinion, who are always talking about non-monogamy. I'm sorry. I've said this before on a live. The most faithful men that you will ever meet are men who are fine. And I stand on that. And when I say fine, I'm not talking about a man who was like not cute, you know, in school, but he got older and started lifting weights and he had kind of a glow up. And the only reason, like, for example, Jonathan Majors, okay? People say he fine, but honestly and truly, if he didn't have those muscles on him, I don't believe people would be saying that he's fine. No, dudes who have always been handsome, I'm not saying they never cheated in life. I'm saying they're the ones who, like, after a certain age, they've gotten that out of their system, and they are the ones who are the nicest in relationships. They're the ones who are the most likely to be faithful. They're the ones who are going to give you the least amount of problems. I promise you. That's the matter of fact, they get cheated on more than they cheat. I promise you that's how that goes. Ladies, if y'all think I'm lying, tell me. It's always the men who are either short, on the cusp of attractiveness, unattractive, out of shape, just barely got fine, it's always those type of men who want to sit up and talk about being polygamous. I never see really attractive men who are just genuinely been attractive, been able to get women all their life, who sit up and talk about polygamy. They don't do that. I'm sorry, they don't. They don't. You will never hear it. Okay. And a lot of y'all might be thinking, like, oh, okay, well, Omarion, he's fine. Is he really? Is he really? Omarion is like 5'7". Okay. The only reason why a lot of women think that he is fine is because he was in B2K and because he can sing and dance. Really, he can't sing, but he can at the very least dance. And he has this, like, he puts out this persona of himself of being like unbothered, right? So he was on Sherry Shepherd talking about monogamy. I'm good, Mr. D. I'm good. Tall, fine with money ain't never did me dirty. They don't. Or just even tall, fine, and he don't got to be the richest. Just doing okay for herself. We stopped talking for other differences, but it wasn't cheating. Yeah, that has been my experience. When me and when I have had issues with, for example, I remember I was dating a guy who was handsome, and the issue wasn't, it had nothing to do with cheating. It's that you're a workaholic. You know what I'm saying? Mine ain't even on women, just workaholic. You feel me? Um, Give me 1 second. And they're nice. They're very kind to you. Men who are very attractive, they're the least misogynistic. And I'm not talking about that fake. You know how some men, they're like, they try to pretend like they're feminists and they go overboard with it, to the point where they like emasculate themselves because they're really trying to get in your draws. No, men who are genuinely just always been attractive, they have a genuine respect for women while still standing in their masculinity, like while still standing up for themselves, while still standing on their square, so they just have a better balance. I'm sorry, there's something psychological to it. But I'm gonna pull up what Omarion said to Sherry Shepherd, and my whole thing is the audacity. And I'm gonna say this too. I don't believe in his relationship with April Jones that she was the problem. I don't believe it for 1 second. Give me 1 second. Sent. Stop screen. Here we go. Y'all, please hit the like button. Okay, hold on. I can't hear it. So this is from the Shade Room. This is from the Sherry Shepherd show. It says Sherry Shepherd asked Omarion about his thoughts on Kofi Siriboe's idea of non-monogamy. There's only a few good men. So y'all know who Kofi is, right? Now, a lot of y'all think Kofi fine too. In my opinion, I don't see the appeal. But if you like it, I love it. I remember Kofi was with Ducky Thought and he cheated on her. So now he's living this non-monogamous lifestyle. Good for him. So this is what Omarion had to say about it.
So you're supposed to have, is this like an all-you-can-eat buffet over here?
No,
Okay, go on explain. I'm not jumping on you.
Let me just say, it's only a few good men. It's only a few good men.
Right.
And whether or not it's a physical thing, we end up fostering the next generation as well. So why not have our queens or the women? Because I was raised by all women.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Why not have our queens aligned with that? That it takes a village. It's not going to just be one man. You could get married. That man still ain't going to be just your man. He's going to be, there for his daughter. He's going to be there for his mom, his grandmother. So this.
Okay. First of all, I got to talk about the obvious here. When I see these type of men who want to have all these different women, I always think that there was some type of trauma that happened. And we know there have been rumors. I don't think they're just rumors. Y'all know Raz B came out and said what that man Chris Stokes and Marcus Houston did to them boys when they were kids. And I feel like certain men like this always have to prove their masculinity to themselves, right? I'm not saying that you know, I'm sure that all men, even if they're in a committed relationship, will see women that they're attracted to, but it gets to a point where if one person is just never enough and you're constantly having to run through women, you are trying to prove something to yourself, kind of like what Neo is doing, right? Furthermore, I feel like he's bringing up you got to share your man, talking about your daughters and your mom, because y'all know April always had a problem with Omarion's mother acting like Omarion was her man. And we know it to be a fact that Omarion's mother slept with J Boog, who is the same age as Omarion. And I was on my TikTok, Olivia, you were on there earlier. I was on my TikTok talking about how Priscilla, the Queen Maker, has done multiple lives where she's read these Reddit posts of both young men and mothers anonymously admitting that they have had sexual relations with each other. One man was even talking about how he goes on vacation with his mother and his wife thinks nothing of it because it's his mother. It's like a mother-son trip. And while they're out the country, they pretend that they're in a relationship. They holding hands and kissing and doing all that like they a whole couple in another country. Man, if y'all go listen to them lives that she did reading these posts from these people, you would be sick. So his mama messed him up for sure. For sure. And I don't put it past Omarion's mom. That's something I'm not saying it did. I'm saying I wouldn't put it past her, especially when you are sleeping with your friend's son, who is your son's friend, who is the same age. And then there's constant friction between the son and the girlfriend. You know, so this is all y'all got to understand. Everything he's bringing up right here is a deep rooted and psychological. Yeah, it's a sick, sad world. These people now. That's why y'all don't see me taking up for too many women as much. Cause the more I'm learning, I'm like, oh baby, some of these women are really nasty. They just as bad as these men. It just doesn't seem as violent because we have different parts. Let's continue.
Concept isn't really foreign. It's just a little old, you know, and it's meant to be upgraded. And I love this conversation because I think when
also I don't like how he's conflating it takes a village to it takes you sleeping with the whole village of women. No, it takes a village. That's that women who have other husbands helping another woman who got her husband, and the grandmamas and the aunties, and that's the village. That doesn't have anything to do with monogamy. And women do not like monogamy. I'm sorry. Women do not like polygamy. Y'all get what I'm trying to say? There have been plenty of stories of these sister wives getting upset with each other and putting stuff in the other sister wives' kids' food, drinks, so they can, unalive them. So no, that is never a healthy situation for women. We most of us cannot handle that.
Men are open and honest that they don't want to have just this one thing for the rest of their life, it gives a woman an opportunity to choose.
I was talking about in my chair for Hot Topics about actor Kofi Siriboe.
Okay, so basically he was saying that if the men are honest about what they want, then it's gonna give the women the opportunity to choose. Which, okay, I'll concede that point. If you are a man who doesn't believe in monogamy, then yes, you should be honest. You should let the women know off top that ain't what you want. With that said, the reason why a lot of men are not honest is because of the quality of the women that choose to engage in these type of relationships. Look at all three of Neo's so-called girlfriends. When I see them in a picture together, it looks like it stinks. I'm sorry. It looks like it stinks. And I'm not even talking about looks. you can tell when you done got 3 low quality, low IQ chicks, right? It kind of reminds me of the guy who got upset and was like, women are the reason why men are not honest about being bisexual, because we're too judgmental and we don't want to date them. And then he was saying that the ones who do want to date him, he doesn't want. Yes, because no beautiful, self-respecting woman, or just self-respecting woman in general, is going to want to lay down with you knowing that you go lay down with other men. So yeah, you are going to have the women who are less attractive, or not as intelligent, or don't have good hygiene, or are on the extremely big side. You're going to be more likely to attract those type of women. Those type of women are going to be more open-minded because they got to kind of get it how they live, versus women who know they got it going on. They don't want you, sir. They don't want you. I'm sorry, they don't want you. Guys, please hit the like button. That helps people know I'm on live. Thank y'all for being here. Poly is good in theory, but in practice, I don't see it working. No, there's too many emotions. Like, there are too many emotions that we feel when we're just dealing with one other human being. And then you bring all these other human beings. Another thing that I've seen happen that's actually quite common is I've seen a man call himself trying to bring another woman into the relationship. One woman agrees, and like not too long after that, a breakup happens, right? For example, I know of a situation where there was the girl, she was actually like a lesbian. So she liked girls too. She suggested they bring another woman in. But the thing is, when you bring another woman into the situation, when the man is gone, they sit up and talk about him, and they talk about his flaws and his faults, how he not good enough. And then boom, next thing you know, you done lost both of your chicks. And the girls don't stay together because, hey, we barely getting along. I'm not saying it can't work, but the evolution of humanity going straight to the toilet. Hi, big money politics. Whoa, what kind of combo is this? Poly is whack, but polygamy is cool. I need 3 women. Sir, get one. I'm not trying to be mean, but like be real. Get you one and maintain one, and then you can talk about 3. That is what irritates me about this conversation. Most of the men that I hear talking about polygamy, y'all not even keeping and maintaining one. Like Dr. Umar. He's steady talking about polygamy. And where his woman at? Where is his one woman at that admires him, thinks he's a king, thinks he's a respectable man, that loves his dirty draws? Where is the one at? It is a fantasy. Now, I'm going to pull this up. This is from Six the Goddess. And she explains how monogamy was actually an invention of men. And I got to kind of agree with her. In this day and age, relationships are done. I don't agree, Mr. D. I'm going to say this. Good people have to be patient. Good people have to be willing to sit a lot of things out. And good people have to be willing to not conform. You understand? So this is what I mean by that. There are so many people on the internet saying that all men cheat, or that all women are gold diggers. And what happens to people is they begin to lose hope. Slowly over time, they begin to lose hope. Uh what they think is attainable begins to fade. It's like a lie that chips away. And then you can see evidence of a lot of this in real life. You're like, oh, well, he's cheating, she's cheating, they're doing this, they're doing that. But what happens is it's a distraction. It's made to get you off your focus. So then what happens is, if you don't want to be alone, you just get into one of these BS relationships like everybody else, and then it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? It's like, okay, well, people told me that X, Y, and Z wasn't attainable, so I settled for this. And now I feel like this is all there is, but You took the bait. You know, I feel like in this day and age, you got to be willing to take things slow with people, get to know people, stand on certain boundaries, but you got to also learn how to kind of give some grace. You got to be able to recognize real masculinity and real femininity in people. Then you also got to understand that we all of us need a certain aspect of each of those in order to function in this life, you know? But I think if you believe that relationships are done, then they're done. If you believe that either God is going to send somebody your way and that you just have to keep working on you and you have to just be, hey, nope, moving on from the BS, or that it's not a bad thing to be alone as long as you're developing yourself, I think you'll be in a really good position. What's the point of having one? I'm just going to cheat. Okay. Hey, Sheba. Y'all, me and Sheba met here in Colombia. We met up. She's so cool. She's just a genuine spirit. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not even gonna say her sign, but we clicked automatically, and then the sign, you know, it makes sense why we clicked. I don't want to put too much of her information out there because she is a faceless channel. But just a really good spirit. She's the one who actually told me, girl, you need to go back to the lunch hour. That was your niche. So yeah, I was telling them I'm definitely going back to the lunch hour. Okay, we live. We live in hookup culture era. Not everybody's hooking up though. Not everybody's hooking up though. Even here, let me tell you how I know. Let me tell you how I know not everybody's on that tip. Even here in Colombia, which is supposed to be this hyper sexual culture, even especially compared to the United States, they're saying there are men down here who are not on that hookup stuff. There are men here who are taking it slow, So if that's that here, I'm sure you can find that in the United States. There are plenty of people who were tired of that. God ain't sending nobody. Okay, well, you know what I mean. Life circumstances. I agree. Good men and women have to learn to be alone while they wait for another good person. And that's oftentimes what I see. I see a lot of good people getting caught up with the wrong people way too early. That's why I never agree with that advice that people need to settle down and get into relationships in their early 20s or as soon as possible. No, because 9 times out of 10, you haven't grown into yourself and you're going to choose the wrong person. And I'm saying this as somebody who did it. The manosphere likes to make it seem like women who end up single in our 30s, it was because we were thotting the entirety of our 20s. But from the time I was 18 to the time I was 23, I was in a relationship with my daughter's dad. After that, I was single for a year. And from the age of 24 to 26, I was in a serious relationship. And after that, I was single for a year. And then I got into another relationship for a couple years. So I've spent the majority of my adult life trying to be serious with somebody, trying to sit down somewhere. But with each relationship, I just grew more. Yes, girl, our signs are compatible. Okay, yes, I'm glad. Y'all, these shorts are too tight. They killing me. Okay, I'm glad the lunch hour is coming back. Y'all, these shorts, they finna take me up out of here. I ain't even gonna hold you. They finna take me up out of here. Yes, y'all hit that like button. So this is what Six the Goddess had to say about monogamy. Give me a second.
Was it because the average man wanted to have a beautiful woman?
No.
Why was it?
No. Monogamy is necessary because if you say we're going to develop a polygamous community, what will happen is what the women will do, because women, we are genetically wired to want to procreate with the biggest, strongest, richest man. This is embedded in us. It's nothing anyone could play God to say that I'm not like that. Yes, you are, sis. God made you that way. And it's for a reason. It's how you keep the human race going. Not all men are meant to be carried on. So
you know what? I can agree with that. I think the default is that you want the biggest, tallest, strongest man with money. I think the women who are like, I'm not like that, as you get older and you become wiser and you begin to date, you understand that the tallest man ain't always the man that's going to protect you. You know what I'm saying? You understand that the man with the most money is not always going to be the one that has your back. So it's like on a conscious level, you know, your tastes are changing, and then I believe that that can make you adapt. You know, over time, your taste adapt to your lived experiences. So I'll give her that, you know, because I kind of feel like when I was younger, I was more on that, like, oh, if the dude is tall and big and fine. And now I think we were having this talk this weekend, Sheba. It's kind of like I'm at that age where between 5'10" and 6 feet, that's the sweet spot. That's the sweet spot. I will take a guy who is 5'10", handsome, nice, kind, hardworking, and a good person over the man who was 6'5", has hella bread, but he's a bad person and not a good uh protector. You know, there are men who are 5'10" who got more heart than a man that's 6'5", but like on a genetic level, on first glance, when you look at it, it doesn't seem that way. So she's talking about the baseline, right? What we see on a superficial level. So I have to agree with her. Girl, take them off. What you talking? Yes, girl, these shorts, I'm gonna take them off so bad, but I ain't gonna get up. Because if I get up, y'all might see too much booty, baby. Because these shorts is short. Hey, I've been walking around Colombia looking like you can buy for $50. No, I'm just playing. They not that bad, but they short. The manosphere ain't nothing but a bunch of hurt, angry men, single and paying for play. Yeah, and a lot of them, they ain't even got enough money to pay for the play. I agree with her. I'm 6'3". Okay, Mr. D, you got some height on you. But see, okay, because I was talking to Mr. D on his live. His personality don't give hater. You know what I'm trying to say? It don't give bitter man. Y'all understand? Your personality gives you been 6'3" all your life, Mr. D. Um, yeah, but it don't give that. I ain't saying you've been perfect. I don't know your dating relationships or anything like that, but your conversation is different than a lot of these men's conversation. And he don't mind calling it straight down the middle and showing love to women, you know? Again, I think height kind of can sometimes give you a confidence that somebody that's Omarion's height just don't naturally have. Um, Mr. D, Manosphere is miserable. Man, they so miserable.
Some are meant to die out in their lifetime. Monogamy was
so basically, Six was saying every man's genes are not meant to be passed. That a lot of men are, you know, they was meant, their genes were meant to die out. And you know what? As harsh as it sounds, I kind of look back and I think back to if you go in any hood and you see the type of men that these women are procreating with and the ones that don't take care of their kids, so they're having kids out of wedlock by men who don't take care of their kids, and then 9 times out of 10 those kids are going to procreate with a woman of the same socioeconomic status, and he's not going to take care of those kids while he walks around bitter that his daddy didn't love him, which gives low IQ, because an intelligent person would think to break the cycle. You got a whole bunch of people who are really operating like at a 75 IQ or lower, having children together. And because women are not super selective, then what you have is a whole bunch of people being created that, especially like men that know that they ain't doing nothing in life, they are a menace and a havoc on society. You know, most women will at least sit down somewhere, you know, but men who feel inadequate or feel like they're not supposed to be here, they just They wreak havoc on the y'all. These dang y'all. I gotta take these shorts off. Give me a second. Y'all stay right here. Give me a second. I gotta take these shorts off. I'm still online. Thank y'all for bearing with me. I wasn't gonna be able to do it. I wasn't gonna be able to do it no more. Okay. No, but it's true, Mr. D. You know, you got that you got that masculine man energy. Okay. So yeah, it's a lot of men walking around that women should not be laying down sleeping with. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But a lot of times you don't even know, like when you're young, you can't even spot the difference. That's why back in the day, people's moms and fathers used to kind of look after who they were courting with more and get to know the family, because they know when you're young, you don't know how to tell the difference. You know, I'm 31, and it took me like just over the past couple years am I able to identify a man who is in his masculinity. And with that comes the understanding that these men who are masculine are not ones who are acting like your girlfriend. They're not ones who are acting like they are your best friend. These men are hyper focused, hyper diligent, to the extent that you might not like it all the time. I've been there, girl. That's why I usually have a blanket when I'm on live. Girl, yes. Ooh, god dang. I want to throw them shorts away after this. Okay. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I honestly think we owe April Jones an apology. I know she slept with Lil Fizz. But honestly and truly, I'm gonna give her a pass. And yes, I know that he's the homie. He was the homie. But let me say this: Lil Fizz and Omarion have always had a very contentious relationship, because Lil Fizz always used to take Omarion's girls. So I don't think they've ever really just been super close. It was kind of like they went through the same experience in the group. But there have been plenty of times before Love in hip hop where I would see Omarion and Lil Fizz publicly beefing, or Lil Fizz making videos talking mess about Omarion. Like, that's always been a point of contention. Am I saying that April was right for messing with him? No, but I do feel like Omarion broke up with her because he wanted to be in these streets and he wanted to be free, and he did it after he gave her two children. And yes, she got to take some responsibility because she shouldn't have had those kids by him without a ring. On top of that, his mom is hella toxic. So I'm gonna say, yeah, she was wrong for that. But I honestly feel like there were a lot of things that went on behind the scenes to where she was angry and she wanted to get some get back. I've never believed that he has been innocent in that situation. Imagine you been with it, because they were talking about getting married. And I know this because I've been in a situation like this before, where I was talking to you about that, Sheba, if you're still on here, to where I was with a man. We had been in a really great relationship. Everything seemed like it was moving the right way. And then one week he told me this is the best relationship he ever had and he wanted to get married without me asking him. Like, he built it up like this is where this was going. And then a week later, I came home and all of his stuff was gone. And the betrayal, that type of betrayal, when things were going right, when you had a good relationship with somebody, it will make you bitter. And I remember for a while after that, I was extremely bitter and enraged. Did I go sleep with his friend? No. But I'm not gonna act like that rage didn't just eat me up. You know what I'm saying? And not everybody is built to handle that type of rage and betrayal. And she ain't the only. I've known plenty of women who have gone because a man did something like that to them, went and did some stuff. April was wrong for that. LOL. Anybody but close associates. I believe she wanted to get back at him. Yeah, this is how I know she wanted to get back at him, because she went on public TV lying, saying that Lil Fizz Stangalang was the best she ever had. Girl, stop playing. OMG, Mariah, I had a similar situation happen. Yeah, like that will mess you up for a very long time. It makes it very hard to trust. You always have a sense of abandonment. I think with April, Omarion, he's a Scorpio who he's super controlling, super sneaky. And she had to deal with people having this perception that she was the problem, which in my opinion, it was always obvious that he was the problem, especially with that relationship that he had with his mom. It was always obvious to me that there was more going on, but she could never really speak on it, right? Because of the legalities of it. So I think she kind of lashed out the best way she knew how. And because she's a beautiful girl, she's very beautiful, right? Uh People are, when you're that kind of pretty, people want to be upset with you. People want to call you a hoe. People want to be angry at you. So if you give them a reason to, they are gonna harp on it, and they're not gonna care about what that man put you through. But as a woman, I always had empathy for her, because it's like, this man act like he was gonna get married to her, had 2 kids with her. She put up with all that drama from his mama, and then boom, now you want your freedom. No, like, I'm sure that burns. So am I gonna say she was wrong? She was right for what she did with Lil Fizz? Nah, she was wrong, but at the same time, I ain't never been in that situation to that. Like I got left and didn't have babies by this man, and it tore me down. So I can only imagine when you have put your body through having 2 kids and a man does you like that, and then on top of that, he's trying to lowball you on the child support, and to the point where, like, April Jones was still work, like, had a regular job and all of that. I'm not saying she needed, superstar money, but she was over there struggling, and he had her struggling. Okay. After leaving her, like, if she went through so much. So my heart really goes out to her for real. Okay, so I want to talk about this interview that Elon Musk did with Joe Rogan. Do y'all watch Joe Rogan? Like, if you don't watch Joe Rogan, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Even if you don't watch specifically for Joe Rogan, I think most people that watch Joe Rogan don't necessarily watch. We like Joe Rogan, but it's the way that he conducts these interviews. It's the questions that he asks. It's the type of interesting people that he interviews. So y'all know him and Elon are buddies. And Joe Rogan is one of the main reasons why Trump is in office now. I'm not going to say he's like the only I'm not going to give him that much credit, but that interview definitely made a difference. So Elon Musk went on Joe Rogan. Yeah, salute to him. He's doing the work of the Lord. You know what's crazy? I've heard the left saying, well, we need our own Joe Rogan. Sir, ma'am, you had him. Joe Rogan, up until Donald Trump, had voted Democrat his entire life. I think he didn't vote in the 2020 election. I don't believe he casted a vote, but he was a huge Bernie supporter. And then how they did Bernie and how that whole rigged primary thing happened twice in a row. I think he was done with the Democrats then. You feel me? But even then, when he was on the Democrat side, anytime he disagreed with them about any particular topic, they were calling him an alt-right Republican. So it's like, y'all know you can't disagree on that side. There's no room for not towing the line. And that's why I ultimately had to leave, because y'all want me to agree with everything y'all saying. I don't agree with certain things. I'm sorry. I don't think that trans women should be playing in women's sports. Oh, now I'm a transphobe. Okay, now I'm an outright Nazi. Okay, fine. I just gotta move around it. I don't watch regularly. I like when he has the conspiracy type people on. Oh yeah. I mean, Joe Rogan during COVID. Oh my gosh. I'm not far right or far left people. They are all crazy. But you know what I will say, Bianca, like even when I was completely like on the Democrats side, I've always found that when you sit down, like take the internet off, like take the internet, like let's get off the internet because people troll on the internet, people talk ish on the internet. I'm talking about when I was having conversations with people face to face. I've always found people on the right or Republicans to be far more respectful in the way that they disagree. They just are. And far more open to listen to you, even if they don't agree. Whereas there have been plenty of times where I was talking to somebody who was a Democrat, and because I didn't agree with what they said, they just flipped on me, like in person, just went off the rails. I remember like I had to stop at one point. I was like driving for Uber as like a side gig, and I had to tell myself, don't let any Democrats bait you into a conversation about politics because they would go off on me, especially like, oh, I'm not even gonna hold y'all. Y'all might get upset with me for saying this. Older Black women get the most disrespectful. They get the most angry and they get the most upset and start yelling at you and calling you all kind of names. Like it's bad. It's very bad. So I was like, I can't even talk about it with y'all because y'all act crazy. Bill Maher is my type of liberal. I like Bill Maher. I don't agree with everything he says, but I like him as a person. Girl, I have had hard down arguments with one of my liberal friends and she couldn't take it. Trust me, I get it. Yeah. They get upset. They're the ones who are most likely to cut off their friends and families. Like you will not see Republicans cutting off their friends and family for disagreeing with them about politics. They'll just be like, okay, I don't agree with you. Like no, liberals, there's something about that ideology and the wanting to take offense because that like I was watching y'all know Zoe Saldana. And y'all know how she won the Oscars for Best Actress in, I think it's Amelia something, where she played a Mexican actress. Now, Zoe Saldana is very racially ambiguous. I remember she got her start playing Black women. She kind of stopped playing those roles because people got upset with her because she got cast in Nina Simone and they put a prosthetic nose on. Yeah, do I think it was a miscast? Yes, but I don't think people should have been upset with her. And they were like, well, we're upset with you because you took the role. She's an actress. She gotta eat, she gotta work. Like that's her job. She probably could have played the hell out of Nina Simone. She just didn't have the look. So people were mad at her about that. She's also played a Colombian woman in Colombiana. She's played a green person in Gamora. Now liberal Hispanic Mexicans are upset with her because of her portrayal as a Mexican woman. And it's like, bruh, these people are always looking for a reason to be offended. Nothing is ever good enough. Everything has to be done rigidly and in a very specific way, or they're just going to go off the rails and try to destroy your career or discredit you. Avatar 2, yeah. Like, so she's an actress who has range, right? Like, and I don't see the problem, but they give that woman hell, and they were trying to give her hell the night she won the Oscar. So, it's just the mentality. It must be exhausting, always finding something to be offended by. Honestly, so let's watch this video about Elon talking about the corruption and him talking about how he fears for his life. Give me a second. Okay, let's go.
Are a way to do things that would be illegal if they were the government, but are somehow made legal if it's sent to a so-called nonprofit. But these nonprofits are then used to people cash out these nonprofits. They become very wealthy through nonprofits. They pay themselves enormous sums through these nonprofits.
It's so insane that that's been going on for so long.
It's a gigantic scam, like one of the biggest, maybe the biggest scam ever.
And how many NGOs?
I think there's a total number of NGOs.
To me, that's not tea. I guess I've been around people who done scams long enough to know that those nonprofits are not used for the purposes that they should be used for. Like I've been known them nonprofits are. I've seen this in real life.
NGOs probably millions, but in terms of large NGOs, tens of thousands. I mean, it's actually kind of a hack to the system where someone can get an NGO stood up for a fairly small amount of money. Like George Soros was really good at this. Like George Soros is like a system hacker. Like he figured out how to hack the system. He's a genius at arbitrage. I mean, these days he's pretty old, but a genius at arbitrage. So he figured out that you could leverage a small amount of money to create a nonprofit, then lobby the politicians to send a ton of money to that nonprofit, so you can take what might be, a $10 million donation to a nonprofit to create a nonprofit and leverage that into $1 billion NGO. And a nonprofit is a weird word. It's just a non-governmental organization. And then the government continues to fund that every year. And it'll have a nice sounding name, like the Institute for Peace or something like that. But really, it's a graft machine.
And what are the requirements with that money? What do they have to do?
Just really no requirements at all.
So they just get grants and the government just assumes that they're doing good work.
I've seen this before. There are people who are like grant writers, and if you're like a really good grant writer, it's not hard to get money from the government and then not have to really be accountable for it. Or you can just make fake bills. It's really not hard to get a government, or at least it wasn't hard to get a government grant, and then just lie about what you were spending the money on if you were audited for it. But most of the time they don't even audit. Only thing I have in common with Republicans is gun rights and LGBT. Only thing I agree with on the left is free school, free health care, or at least cheaper. Besides that F both parties. Okay, I can understand that. That's why I mentioned Bill Maher, because he speaks clearly to the issues with the Democratic Party. Yeah, I like him. I voted for Trump. Most people I feel like a lot of people that voted for Trump are not real conservatives, because there's a lot of conservatives takes issue with the new people in the coalition. Because, for example, I agree with the majority of the things that Trump's doing, and Donald Trump doesn't agree with a universal ban on abortion. He doesn't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Donald Trump has a lot of his policies are very middle. So a lot of like real deal conservatives, these Christian fundamentalists, don't necessarily agree with a lot of the things. They agree in terms of the economy, but on the culture stuff, the culture war stuff, they don't agree with Donald Trump. And that's fine, right? Here's the bottom line is they can't win elections without people like you, big money politics. They can't win elections without people like me. Those Christian fundamentalist values do not win elections. So they're just going to have to deal with it. They're going to have to make compromises in certain areas. Oh, you're talking about Zoe Saldana. Okay, let's continue.
I think a lot of people in the government know that they are not doing good work, but it's a giant graft machine. I mean,
but surely
people online are like unpacking this,
right?
Hey guys, I really want to hatch an egg on adopted mind. Will you please help me?
Make your very own monster.
It almost seems fake. Like when you're seeing how we were covering this article that said 55,000 Democrat NGOs were discovered that had been contributing to campaigns and moving things around and pushing propaganda, and they were all connected. And
Real talk. everybody that I know who has fraudulently written a grant and got grant money and they weren't using it for what they were supposed to be using it. I'm just talking about regular people. I'm not talking about politicians. They have all been Democrats. I'm not saying Republicans don't do it. It's just I'm in general am not around a lot of Republicans. So yes, I this is believable to me because in real life, the people who I know vote blue are scamming the government all the time.
They found it through AI. That you have to go through steps and steps and steps to figure out where the money's coming from.
Mhm.
Oh, it's all funneling down to this group,
Yes,
and this
exactly.
group does that. And yeah, it's a giant propaganda machine, a giant regime change machine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean,
but does it do some good as well?
It does some good. So it's like this. It's not like 0% good. If it was, if it was like. If it was really 0% good, it'd be much easier to detect. So there's going to be some percent good that they add in there, but it's like it might be 5% or 10% good, but 95% not.
So is there a way to audit all this stuff and find out, oh, these people are actually just sending food to poor people. These people are actually just helping people with water.
I knew a woman who used to do a lot of government fraud through grants, and he's right. Like she would do some good. She'd use some of that money to put it toward what it's supposed to go to, but the vast majority of it she was using to buy Bentley Bentegas, mansions, to go on expensive trips. So yeah, she was using some because she was supposed to be helping children. Yes, some of that money was going to the children. The vast majority of it was not. Guys, please hit that like button.
Water in third world countries. There's a way to do that and keep funding those.
Yeah, I mean, we have continued to fund things that appear to be legitimate, even with the flimsiest. If there's even the flimsiest excuse, like I just say, like, send me a picture of the thing. Like you could literally have AI generate the picture, but if you're not even willing to try to trick me, then we're like not going to send the money. Okay.
So what restrictions were put on? There was some something set aside, like medicine, and there's what was set aside that there wasn't
there was
a freeze on?
work for like Ebola prevention. I actually don't even know if this work is even effective. It may or may not be. Like it could be the kind of thing where you sort of fund Ebola prevention, but it turns out that actually you're funding a lab that develops new Ebola virus, recipes or something,
Yeah.
And they claim it's Ebola prevention, but it's actually Ebola creation. So some of these things, I don't know. I mean, just. But it just seems like we shouldn't be sending taxpayer money to dubious.
I'm gonna fast forward this a little bit, guys. Give me a second.
Also, we just have a real issue with the budget deficit. It's gigantic. So,
Yeah.
I mean, most of the time I create businesses from scratch. Like,
right.
Twitter was a case where I kind of this from scratch. Like,
right.
Twitter, it does not pass its audits. It fails its own audits. So, like, there's a case where
when you want to check
to Social Security, they just
Hold on,
do
give me
an
one
"Are you
second.
alive" check.
One
Stock
second.
portfolio stuff is quite trackable, but it's a lot more than insider trading.
the way they're acquiring wealth.
Correct.
And what other methods?
I mean, this is really going to get me assassinated. I mean, I was supposed to go back to DC. How am I going to survive? This fucker is going to kill me for sure. I actually have to be careful that I don't push too hard on the corruption stuff because it's going to get me killed. If I push too hard on the corruption stuff, people get desperate is the issue.
Right.
Then they say, like, okay, if the money flow cuts off, then, okay, they can't afford school for their kids. Then they're like, well, fuck you, I'm going to kill you for my kids. But I think if I fully destroy the corruption and the graft, they will kill me.
Okay. So there you have it. I believe he's serious about what he's saying. I think there's a reason why Donald Trump chose J.D. Vance to be his vice president. And even that, I don't think it's going to be enough. I think there's a reason why Donald Trump is working so quickly. This man hasn't taken a day off. He's doing something every day. He's doing a press conference every day. He said before, I believe he said on Joe Rogan, that he thinks that they are going to take him out. They've already attempted to do so. So I believe he's trying to keep enough people in position to be able to carry the torch if something happens to him. But honestly, I don't think it's going to be enough. They've been saying he's carrying his son around as a human shield. What do you mean by that? Do you think they're saying that he's gonna try to use his son to protect him? I don't get that vibe. I don't know. But like let's say that is the case. Like he'd be wrong for that, right? But then like isn't it more wrong that he even has to worry about that? Like there's something very wrong that this man feels like the corruption runs so deep that he feels like at any moment they're gonna take me up out of here. You know what I'm saying? If anything, this has confirmed to me that the deep state is absolutely real. Even the CIA came out and was like, do your little audits, audit the federal government, audit the Pentagon. Don't come this way. Because if y'all come this way, we will go. The CIA, it's like they operate as their own entity. So they were like, we will literally go trade your secret, all the United States secrets to other governments. If you try to come over here with that. And the fact that they could say that and get away with it is wild. So many people say politicians aren't elected, they're selected. So I wonder. That's always been, that's it. I mean, we know for a fact Joe Biden was selected. Come on now. Come on. If you followed that primary from beginning to the end and you saw what happened with Bernie Sanders and you saw what happened with Super Saturday, and you remember how Obama made that call and told everybody to pull out of that race except for Elizabeth Warren, and then Elizabeth Warren drops out the next day and doesn't endorse Bernie Sanders, which would be the obvious person that she would endorse. She was going to lose anyway. Like when you go back, I remember Iowa with Pete Buttigieg having connections to those machines, and it was just so much that went on. And then on top of that, like this man was mentally ill. Like by then, Joe Biden had already shown signs that we knew then that he had dementia. Like for people to act like this was some secret that was being hidden for 4 years. I remember talking about it. I remember it being talked about on the news, and people were like, well, y'all aren't doctors. Y'all can't. So like no person in their right mind truly believed that Joe Biden was in his right mind. You know, I think people were trying to deny it because they didn't like Donald Trump, which at that point that was insane because we had already lived 4 years under him and everything was fine. Nothing just major until COVID came. Nothing major happened under his presidency. We were chilling. You feel me? Life was good. The economy was good. Money was good. People think Trump was also selected both times and that elections are fake, period. I don't agree with that. And the reason why I don't agree that Trump was selected both times is because the establishment has gone so hard on him, right? And honestly, I think the only reason why he got elected this time is because he had enough money to hire poll watchers. So in all swing states, he had poll watchers there. I don't know if y'all remember, there was like a story that came out on election night, and Trump was like, they're trying to rig it in Philadelphia at one of the precincts. It's because one of the poll watchers saw something, right? So he had poll watchers in every county that could have been flipped. He had a poll watcher there. I don't think he was selected. What I will say is after listening to this conversation between Elon and Joe Rogan and him expressing himself in that way, I think we hope that the swamp will be completely drained and that the corruption will be completely eradicated, but it's clear that's not going to happen without a real sacrifice. You feel me? Like these people are not just going to come up off of that. They're not just going to allow certain things to happen. You know, so these people that are in positions, the Cash Patels, the Pam Bondis, the Elon Musk, they have to decide, the Tulsi Gabbards, they have to decide if they are willing to make the ultimate sacrifice. And if they're not going to be able to, Donald Trump, they're not going to be able to root out all that corruption. They're not. And that's a terrible burden to carry. And I know a lot of their supporters are going to be upset if they don't go all the way with it. But we have to understand what we're asking them to do here. These people have children, they have families. I think it's very complicated. It's very unfortunate. We will see how it plays out. The talk is that the establishment isn't who does the selecting. It's unseen people with their own interests. I believe in that. So, okay, I guess I think you're talking about the deep state, Binky. That's who you're talking about. So, so let's not confuse the two. So, when most people talk about the political establishment, they're talking about the Nancy Pelosi's, the Chuck Schumers, the Mitch McConnells, like the people that have been there in politics for so long. But then there are also like the people behind them that we don't know, like the nameless people, like the people who are in the CIA, who have been, the presidents have come and gone and they've been there. And then there's the people backing them, right? So yeah, I'm in agreement with you on that. I don't know. I'm just saying that that's what many people believe. It's money in charge versus politicians. No, I agree with that. I don't disagree with that. One thing I will say, though, that I've kind of been seeing lately is, here's the thing. There have been certain ones of us, like independents, people who were formerly a part of the Democratic Party, who have been saying these things, that there is a deep state, that presidents are being selected. Like I've been saying this, right? A part of me wanted to kind of like give it a chance, but when we were saying it, we sounded crazy. And I feel like the only reason why a lot of Democrats are just now coming around to that idea is because, and I'm not saying you, Binky, I'm just talking about like in general, is because now somebody that they don't like is in office. Now somebody that they don't like is in office, and they can't see why he would appeal to other people, which if you're out and about talking to other people, that's a problem with a lot of Democrats. They only talk to people who agree with them. But if you just surround yourself in many different environments, it was obvious to you that he was the popular choice, right? But it's like now that Donald Trump's in office, now all of a sudden that side is like deep state selected presidents, and it's like, bruh, that we've been on this. We've been talking about this. To be honest, I hear that more from people that don't vote at all than Dems. Well, that's true. That's true. People who don't vote at all, yeah, that they've always been like those independents, that silent, I would say it's a silent majority of America who doesn't vote, have always said we don't vote because we don't think our vote matters, right? I think this last election, though, gave people some hope, because I'm not going to lie. I did not. So first of all, I was here in Colombia. I could vote. I could vote abroad if I wanted to. We could, but I'm from Texas. Donald Trump was going to win my state anyway, so I didn't. But also, I'm going to say I just kind of lost hope in vote. I didn't think he was going to win again. I didn't think they were going to allow that to happen. I think the 2020 election was rigged. I do. I wholeheartedly believe that. And the reason why I believe that is because all of those mail-in ballots, I remember going to sleep that night and Donald Trump was obliterating Joe Biden, and waking up and it was like we were in some type of other world because of those mail-in ballots. And the chain of custody for those mail-in ballots is so hard to track, right? I don't believe, and there's a reason why mail-in ballot voting is illegal in most countries, right? For them trying to make it seem like that is a secure way to vote. No, most countries know that this is not the way that you should be voting, right? So I'm against mail-in ballot. I'm even against mail-in ballots for people like myself that live abroad. If it's really that important for you, buy a plane ticket and go vote. Yep, I agree. So I think, you know, I didn't think he was gonna win it. I didn't think they were gonna give him a fair chance. I just think this time he was prepared. And I think this time, just kind of like how he didn't select certain people to be in his cabinet that were in his cabinet last time that had deep state or establishment ties. I think this time he came into it knowing what he was doing, and it was just too big to rig, and there was too much oversight. But trust and believe it. I feel like if he didn't come into this and do his due diligence, I don't think he would have been the president again. I think this last election gave people hope. You know, I don't know what's going to happen going forward, but I think you'll see way more people who are more apt to go out and vote because they feel like their vote will make an actual difference. But we'll see. You know, he's only like a month, not even 2 months into his term. We shall see what happens. I think if he continues on the course that he's going, he will be one of the most popular president. He will, if not the most popular president of all time. Even CNN is having to concede his popularity at this point. Okay, so I had one more thing I wanted to talk about. Ukraine, y'all. I am so tired of President Zelensky. I'm so tired of him. Okay, so I'm gonna give y'all a quick rundown on the history of why we are in this war with Ukraine. For those of y'all who don't know and you don't understand, y'all please hit the like button. Now, I'm gonna give y'all a quick disclaimer. I majored in political science in college. History was my minor. Geography was my third field of study, and economics was my fourth field of study. I was a social studies teacher, and not just that, I was one of those kids in college. I was not satisfied with the curriculum because it seemed like we were always reading Machiavelli and Locke, and it's like the same Renaissance era political thinkers, Enlightenment era political thinkers. So I started studying on my own Eastern politics and philosophy. And then I became a Cuban Revolution, Russian Revolution enthusiast. I've read and done so much research on the history of Russia. It's insane. And this was before the Ukraine war. This was before Donald Trump became president. Like, I wrote my senior thesis on nuclear non-proliferation. So I know quite a bit about the system of nuclear bombs around the world. Like, I know a lot is what I'm trying to tell you. So I'm not one of these people who has hopped on this trend about talking about Russia because of the Ukraine war. I understood from the very beginning that Ukraine was in the wrong and the United States hyped them up to get the beating that they are currently getting. Do y'all understand? So this is the issue. This is why we are in this war to begin with. Ukraine has for years been flirting with potentially joining NATO, right? And we all know that the United States is the head of NATO, right? Why do the Russian people feel a way about that, or does the Russian government feel a way about that? Because if the Ukraine joins NATO, then that means that a NATO country will be right up on Russia's border, meaning they're going to be moving military weapons into that country. They could possibly be placing nukes into that country. It's too much of a risk. And the Russians have a right to be paranoid because when they had the Russian Revolution in 1918, which is why they pulled out of World War One, not too long after that, within a span of over about a decade, they had been invaded 4 times, including by the United States. So since their revolution, since they overthrew their czar, they have been catching hell worldwide. Am I saying that their government is innocent? No. Am I saying that their government has not committed atrocities against its own people? No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying they have a reason to say, we don't want a NATO country up against on our borders. It poses a real threat to us. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? So I can pull up videos from 10 years ago, right? 12 years ago, 15 years ago, of scholars warning the United States to discontinue talks with Ukraine about joining NATO, warning that this was eventually going to lead to a full-scale hot war. So by the time the Biden administration came and agitated that situation and encouraged those talks between Ukraine and NATO, Russia had been warning us for at least a decade to cut it out, to stop it. So that leads me to believe that this war was started intentionally. Because one thing about the Russians, they're not no punks. One thing about them, they stand on business. One thing about them, when they say they're not going to tolerate something, they don't tolerate it. Period. And people can say whatever they want to say about Russia. And again, I have my criticisms about Russia. But let's be very clear. The only reason why we won World War II was because of the Russians. They won that war. They won that war on the Eastern Front. They lost 20 million, more than all the allies put together. They lost 20 million soldiers. They ain't nothing to play with. So that leads me to believe that for purposes of money laundering, for purposes of these contractors getting paid, that the deep state and the establishment who would benefit from it wanted this war to take place at all costs. And the American people have been funding and bankrolling a war that was preventable. Why was it preventable? They had told us to stop. They told us what they were going to do. It was no secret. So at this point, we are in the wrong. Zelensky, I don't like that man. I don't like that man. And I want to know what he's done with our money and done with our tax money. People keep saying, oh, he's fighting for our people. They got mad because Trump and Vance checked him in the White Office. Oh, he cares for his people. If he cared about his people, he wouldn't have been in talks with NATO to begin with. He wouldn't have played with fire. Like, he's the reason why all those people have been unalived. He is the reason. So I don't want to hear it. I don't care about nothing that man has to say. It has been revealed. Y'all know Trump is trying to work out some type of minerals deal with the Ukraine so that we can recuperate some of our funds from that unnecessary war. He's also trying to work out some type of deal with Russia. Let's be clear. The Ukraine is going to have to come up off of some land. Ain't nobody going to war with you and losing thousands of its citizenry and spending all that money on war with you just to say we're going to let you keep all your land. They're going to have to come up off of some land. And again, I'm going to blame that on President Zelensky because it wouldn't have even came to this if he would have just respected his neighbor. Okay? I wouldn't, period. So it has come to the forefront that 3 days before Zelensky came to the White House, he actually made a minerals deal with various countries in Europe, meaning he had already traded away those minerals, meaning he was trying to play the United States and there was no deal to be made. So Donald Trump has come out and said that he will be stopping all foreign aid. So I'm going to pull up this segment from RJ Talks. If y'all don't watch him, you should. He gives a lot of really good updates on what's going on in terms of politics, and he posts every single day. Guys, y'all make sure that y'all hit that like button.
And we have a big show today. President Trump being proven right yet again, as CNN and the media forced to admit and correct the record. We're going to show you also.
Hold on, give me 1 second. Can y'all not see it? Hold on. Remove, present, stop screen. Okay. Share screen. Give me 1 second, guys. Here we go. Okay, y'all should be able to see it now. All right, let's go.
We have a big show today. President Trump being proven right yet again, as CNN and the media forced to admit and correct the record. We're going to show you also Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, desperate to get back on Trump's good side, realizing finally the awful spot he put himself in. Tariffs going into effect this morning at 12:01 a.m. Eastern time. The trade war has begun, and why it's good. Wait till you see this, how all the talking points about tariffs being inflationary will soon be proven wrong. And big news out of the DOJ, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel obtaining truckloads of new JE documents, and they found the gatekeepers responsible.
I want to say this. So I've done several videos at this point explaining tariffs and why they are effective. I've explained, don't be afraid of tariffs. Tariffs are only a bad thing if you have somebody stupid implementing them. So here are a couple rules for tariffs. You don't place a tariff on something that your country cannot produce itself, right? And hold on, there's two of them. You don't place a tariff on something that your country cannot produce and or have the ability to produce within the near future, right? So if your country puts a tariff on, let's say, chips that you don't produce in that country, yes, it's going to hurt people. It's going to hurt your country. If you put a tariff on something that you can produce in your own country, right, which we are able to produce a lot in the United States. We have a lot of resources. Or if you put a tariff on a country, on a good or an item that you can easily get from another country, then it's not going to hurt your country. With that said, certain goods, depending on where they're getting imported from, the cost of the tariff will be passed off to the consumer. The great thing about living in the United States, though, is that we have options, and we truly do. You can, if you travel and you see the limited options that are available in a lot of countries, you will understand why a tariff is going to hurt them before it hurts us. So, for example, with the whole situation that was going on in Colombia, if they would have put a 25 or 50% tariff on Colombian coffee, all the American people would have done is just bought coffee from a different country like Brazil or Ethiopia. Let's say you had Starbucks who got most of its coffee from Colombia. They'd be placed in a position to where they either have to eat the cost or pass the cost on to consumer. But because they know they have competition that they have to deal with, more times than not, if the tariffs go on long enough, they will just find a different supplier. So we are in a position to place tariffs on other countries, and it hurt them way more than it hurts us. Girl, I'm just here taking notes. I'm loving the political and economic knowledge you are sharing. Oh, thank you. Yes, thank you so much. Yes, so for people who are saying, "Oh my gosh, tariffs are going to raise prices for us. That's why we shouldn't use it." No, just buy depending on the country that the tariff is put on, it might not even affect what you buy on a day-to-day, right? And then if you do buy something that's gone up in cost because it comes from a country that we have a tariff on, the beautiful thing about living in America is you can just buy something else. Just buy something else. That's how these tariffs work, guys. That is why these countries, when Donald Trump's put these tariffs on them or he threatens them with tariffs, they fall in line. If it was genuinely going to hurt us before it hurt them, then they would just say, well, we'll let you just put the tariffs on and y'all deal with it. They're the ones who cannot economically afford the tariffs. The United States is a big market. We are a big importer of goods. A lot of the goods that we import, we don't have to import. It's just that we allow these companies to do business outside of the United States and hire workers outside of the United States and make money off of the American people. But the majority of the stuff that has a tariff on it, if we want to make it in our own country, we can. And then now what? Who's going to make money off of us? So Donald Trump is operating from a space of knowing how much weight the American consumership in dollar holds. Just like when he was saying, hey, TikTok, y'all can continue to operate in the United States, but you have to be willing to give up 50% of your revenues, right? We are a huge consumer. we American people are so tapped into their phone and consumer culture that, you know, he's right. If the United States allows TikTok to sell their goods, these companies in China to sell their goods in the United States, then it's worth a lot of money, even at 50%. If they don't allow them to sell their goods here, then it's worth nothing. I'm sure they'll lose the majority of their revenue. So you might as well come up off of that 50% and make something.
For covering all this up, finding, firing, and perp walking the head of the New York FBI field office. Will there be criminal charges? That's what we're hearing, and more stories as well from around the country. But before we get started, thank you for liking and sharing these videos. It really helps out the channel. And consider subscribing so you don't miss these regular updates. If you were someone who watched Trump's first term, watched as the system, the corrupt establishment system, the media, allied nations even, watched as they all unfairly and wrongly portrayed and maligned our president, well, this segment will bring you great joy because once again, Trump was proven right and the media has been forced to correct the record, eat their own words. In 2018, Trump warned all of Europe in front of the world at the UN General Assembly that Germany and Europe would become totally dependent on Russia for their energy needs, warning them, if you don't stop and reverse course, stop the giant oil and gas deal you're making with Russia, change course immediately, he said, or you'll be dependent on Russia. At the time, the German delegation at the UN were caught laughing. They laughed out loud during Trump's speech. The American press crucified Trump over this speech, calling it an embarrassment, saying it was another lie. Well, it wasn't only true then. Now, 7 years later, and it was very prescient. The EU and Germany specifically receiving now over 60 to 70% of all their energy from Russia. Europe, it turns out, is funding both sides of this Ukraine war, paying for Ukraine's weapons while buying their oil and gas from Russia. It's like a giant death circle, funding this death circle, and Trump called it.
And if Russia wants to turn off the gas at any time, they can. You know, and that's why I don't understand why they are continuing. I don't know what they think they're doing by trying to continue to support Ukraine, because at any given time, if Russia decides they want to turn off the gas supply, they can. The only reason why they don't is because they need that money to fund their war, not to just fund their war, but to fund their country. But at any time, if they want to go nuclear in this situation, they can.
Years ago, watch as CNN's Jake Tapper now forced to admit Trump was right. He was right all along. Watch.
For the first time ever, you can make your photos talk, sing, and dance with flawless hand and body movements. It's something
that Europeans were actually buying more Russian oil and gas than they were helping Ukraine in terms of the aid. So in some ways, the Europeans are funding both sides in this war.
Germany will become totally dependent on Russian energy if it does not immediately change course. Here in the Western Hemisphere, we are committed to maintaining our independence from the encroachment of expansionist foreign powers.
Well, I have to say, I think it's very sad when Germany makes a massive oil and gas deal with Russia, where you're supposed to be guarding against Russia, and Germany goes out and pays billions and billions of dollars a year to Russia. So we're protecting Germany, we're protecting France, we're protecting all of these countries. And then numerous of the countries go out and make a pipeline deal with Russia, where they're paying billions of dollars into the coffers of Russia. So we're supposed to protect you against Russia, but they're paying billions of dollars to Russia. And I think that's very inappropriate. And the former
Facts. And I'm glad he said that, because here's the thing, because a lot of these countries are a part of NATO. How are you going to be a part of NATO and the United States is funding the majority of NATO, and you're making oil deals with Russia? So again, you're in a situation where even if we do have to go to some type of war, which I hope we don't, I honestly feel like we should try to, as much as possible, practice diplomacy with Russia, because that's not good for humanity if we get into it, right? But let's say for whatever reason we get into some type of hot war with Russia, you have these countries who are supposed to be our allies completely dependent upon their energy. That makes absolutely no sense. Meanwhile, we fund the majority of NATO. They don't even pay their fair share. Why should we be in any type of military alliance with them? At this point, it'd be better for us to go into isolationism. We don't need them.
Chancellor of Germany is the head of the pipeline company that's supplying the gas.
In another story, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky feeling the walls closing in on him this morning. We reported last week that before Trump met Zelensky in the Oval Office, Zelensky was treading on thin ice, that the minerals deal was his last opportunity, not Ukraine's, Zelensky's last opportunity to be part of the solution in ending this war, and that he failed bigly, that there had been high-level meetings and consensus across allied countries that Zelensky may need to go, either resign or be replaced, that he's the primary detriment to peace. Trump now confirming it, saying it publicly yesterday. Watch.
Everybody has to get into a room, so to speak, and we have to make a deal. And the deal can be made very fast. It should not be that hard a deal to make. It could be made very fast. Now, maybe somebody doesn't want to make a deal. And if somebody doesn't want to make a deal, I think that person won't be around very long. That person will not be listened to very long. Because I believe that Russia wants to make a deal. I believe certainly the people of Ukraine want to make a deal. They've suffered more than anybody else.
That was yesterday. Think about that.
And here's the thing. So you have countries like Germany. You have countries like Germany and Europe who are also funding Ukraine, but they don't want to. Y'all got to understand, these countries for a very long time have leached off of the United States. They genuinely have. They would rather us spend ours and they keep theirs. They would rather us come to the table and fund the majority of the bill for this war. But I think they're coming to terms with the fact that we're not going to. And because we're not going to, it would be in everybody's best interest on that side of the world for them to allow Trump to make a deal. Because the bottom line is this. We're an ocean away from Russia. And unless they decide to go nuclear on us for some reason, they really can't touch us. So if we stay out of it and we mind our business, they're the ones that's going to have to deal with getting invaded. They're the ones who are going to have to deal with their energy supplies getting cut off. If we stay out of the situation, nobody touches us. So it benefits us not. And Trump is absolutely right in saying, if we're going to be making deals, if we're going to be brokering peace, we need our money back. We need a minerals deal. We put too much money into your country, that Vladimir Zelensky. Where did the money go? Can you prove where it went? No, because the whole time this man was money laundering and using a lot of that money for nefarious purposes, which is why he's over here still begging for some money. Guys, y'all hit the like button, please. I'm almost done here.
Think about how terrible a spot Zelensky put himself in. He has the leader of the free world saying, you won't be in charge much longer. You are the only person, one tiny person with no leverage, standing between multiple superpowers, multiple power centers, 3 power centers surrounding you, surrounding Zelensky, Europe, the US, and Russia. Zelensky sitting in the middle, dictating to 2 of them, demanding in the Oval Office that Europe and the US keep giving him more money, give me more money, acting as if he's the one calling the shots. That was Friday. Well, how things
As an American citizen, I'm actually pissed. Like when I think about what has transpired over the last 4 years, or even since that war started, and how many American citizens have went without. Like I'm really like about to get emotional. I'm sorry, y'all. Like I'm trying to like keep my feelings in check. Because those of y'all who live in major cities or even like rural areas, y'all saw the quality of life for our countrymen decrease. Think about the mother whose 2 children froze to death in a car, right? And now they're giving her a house, but she couldn't even get a spot in the shelter. And meanwhile, they were giving in New York, they were paying $400 and $500 a night for illegal immigrants. Our tax money was going to that. The citizens of New York's tax money was going to that. And meanwhile, if you were an actual citizen of this country, there was no bed available to you. When I think of people who were able to save, who can no longer afford a $500 emergency, when I think about the rise in homelessness in our country, the rise in people sleeping on the streets or living in their cars, and you get somebody like Vladimir Zelensky, who has been siphoning money from taxpayers, have the audacity to come on our soil and demand more money. And then on top of that, trying to threaten us with what could potentially happen if we don't give him more money. When our people have seen a significant decline in quality of life over the past 4 years, this man can truly go to hell. Matter of fact, he can go to the 7th level of hell, as far as I'm concerned.
Things have changed in a matter of a few days. The Trump administration pausing all foreign aid, military aid to Ukraine this morning. We reported yesterday they were considering this. Well, they have now done it. Watch.
Reporting the United States is pausing all U.S. military aid to Ukraine until President Trump determines the Ukrainians show a commitment of good faith peace negotiations. That's according to a senior Trump administration telling Fox. This is not a permanent termination of aid. It is a pause. The orders are going out right now. The official said this in response to Ukrainian President Zelensky's conduct over the last week and his words over the weekend. So it's all stopping, Brian.
And this isn't new aid dollars, by the way. This is the last few billion that the Biden administration squeezed through before leaving office. Billions in the pipeline that were appropriated and scheduled to ship to Ukraine. Trump just canceled it.
And I'm glad he did, because there are other presidents who would have let that money go over there, like, oh, and then said, oh, well, this was appropriated funds from the last administration. Like, no. Stand on business. And honestly and truly, I think that the rest of that aid that needs to go towards, it's already appropriate. Honestly, I feel like we shouldn't give them anything else. But I have compassion for other human beings. But we're struggling over here in the United States. Honestly, we could grab that money back and use it for something else. But hey, if we can get the money from other areas that Doge is pulling it from, then fine. But what I will say is the only reason that aid needs to be used, the only thing that is appropriate should go towards rebuilding communities that have been devastated by the war. Anything outside of that, it should be a hell no. Anything, and then even then, that would require a lot of oversight for me to trust that they are going to do the right thing with that money. And I definitely would not be distributing that money under President Zelensky's leadership, because he has shown himself to be crooked and a bad faith actor. So at this point, I wouldn't even do business with him. The Ukrainian people, they need to elect somebody else. Get somebody else to do it. Get somebody else to do it. Because at this point, this man is disrespectful and ungrateful. But that's what happens when you give people free money that they didn't have to work for, nor do they have any ties to, because they didn't work for it. There was no emotion put into it. There was no sweat, blood, and tears. Okay, these people just think that somebody should be giving them an endless welfare check, and I'm over it. Okay. With that said, guys, I'm going to, for the next, I want to say 10 minutes, I'm going to drop a link in the chat. if you want to come up here and give your opinion, even if you disagree, I will allow you the space to do that. We can talk about it if you want to, but this time is for y'all. If y'all want to come up here and give your opinion, if you want to disagree on anything I said, you can do that. It is I hate to say safe place, but y'all know I'll let y'all come on here and talk. Y'all know you can come on here and say what you want to say. I will give you the time and opportunity to speak your mind. So again, the link is in the description, the chat box. So I'm going to give y'all a couple minutes. You don't have to come cammed up. If you want to just come, just talk with your avatar. I understand. Some of y'all, you might be in your bed with your bonnet on already. It's okay. I'll be doing that too. So again, the link is in the chat for those of y'all who want to join the live and give your opinion. Feel free to disagree. If you agree, then come on and tell me why too. Guys, please hit the like button. That helps people know that I'm on live. And share my live if you care. This has been a really good discussion. I always feel like I'm not going to have much to talk about. But then when I get talking, then the live, a live that was supposed to be an hour has turned into 2 hours. So again, I have a link in the description box for those of y'all who want to share your concerns, voice your opinions, disagree with anything that I've had to say, or agree, whatever the case may be. Again, the topics that we talked about today were polygamy. We talked about the United States funding Ukraine. We talked about tariffs. We talked about this so-called lawsuit that Jay-Z has against Rihanna's alleged lawsuit. I feel like we covered a lot of topics. So I'm going to give y'all a minute more. And then after that, I'm going to get off of here. For those of y'all who did not, if you're late to the live, I'm going back to doing my lunch hour tomorrow. So my lunch hours will be start at 12:30 Central Time. Well, honestly, guys, I'm on Bogota time. So, like, for example, right now it's 7:57. So wherever you're at, you do the math on that. But I will be restarting my lunch hour thanks to Sheba Talk's suggestion, y'all. She's such a beautiful soul. Like, I'm gonna actually hit you up after this live, girl, so we can schedule something for this week. I know you might have to work this week, but so that you can explore my side of town. All right, guys. So with that said, nobody has taken me up on my offer. I honestly and truly do appreciate everybody who showed up to the live. All my socials are in my description box. If you want to follow me on TikTok or you want to follow me on Instagram. Also, if you want to comment on any topics you want me to talk about, you can put them in the comment section after the live. Again, I still am doing one-on-one coaching for those who need help dealing with a difficult time in your life right now. Just hit me up at thepassportsis@gmail.com. With that said, it's been real. I thank you for everybody who showed up, and I hope that y'all have a wonderful night. I will see y'all tomorrow at 12:30 here on the lunch hour. Goodbye.